I'm Mark.
And I'm Alex.
And this is Comics Are Awesome, brought to you by Alter Ego Comics. We are here at Alter Ego, and we're going to talk about our favorite books this week. It's a fifth week, which means what, Alex?
There's not a whole lot, but the stuff that is out is usually pretty good.
Yes, fifth weeks are notoriously slow weeks. Usually DC puts out annuals during fifth weeks. Not a lot out this week, but here's what we recommend. First up for me is Batman Secret Files #1. This is a collection of Batman stories written by a variety of writers and artwork by a variety of artists. Go figure. It's bookended by two stories by Tom King, the current writer of Batman. The first story features art by Mikel Janin, who was the artist on the Batman Catwoman wedding fiasco. And the second story has artwork by
somebody.
Blah, blah, blah. By, oh, come on, man.
A person.
Make up your mind, people. Brad Walker. Oh, I'm sorry. That was Tom Taylor. I'm sorry. Tom King did the first story. Tom Taylor did the second story, or the final story, which are the bookends. All right, so first story is a Batman-Superman story. It is it's only a couple pages, but it's very powerful. Basically, Superman in this story offers Batman a chance to have Superman-like powers, and we see what Batman's response is, and it's very... It fits in...
It's Batman. It's very Batman.
Yeah, it's very Tom King. Now we have King and Taylor, and I'm losing my mind. It's very Tom King Batman. Very good stuff. Next story is by some other people. This is by Ram V, it's Ram V, actually. I want to say relatively new writer. I had a chance to meet him at the Comics Pro annual meeting last year. And artwork by Jorge Fornes. It's another good story featuring the Scarecrow. Very little Batman involvement in there, but still a very solid story. Next story is a Batman, Lucius Fox, Jim Gordon story, which is super good. Written by Cheryl Lynn Eaton, artwork by Elena Casagrande. And then there's another one. So you get like 5 or 6 Batman stories. And then the story that both Alex and I enjoyed the most is a Batman Detective Chimp story. That's the one written by Tom Taylor.
We need more of this.
Artwork by Brad Walker. I would totally read a Batman Detective Chimp team-up book.
It needs to be a thing.
It needs to be a thing. Make it happen, DC.
Come on.
And Tom Taylor. Yeah, we had Brave and the Bold with Wonder Woman and Batman. Let's do a detective something or other.
The world's greatest detectives.
World's greatest detectives. With Batman and Detective Chimp. So good. So anyway, this is the final week for foily covers from DC Comics, and this is one of them. Batman Secret Files does have a foil cover. Definitely worth your hard-earned greenbacks or coinage, however you choose to pay for your comics, or even your credit card.
Or PayPal.
Whatever. Bitcoin, that sort of thing.
So I guess on Bitcoin, we'll go with my pick then. My pick #1 of this week is Tony Stark Iron Man #5. Written by Dan Slott and drawn by, let's see, several people. Yeah, several people. Doesn't matter.
It does matter.
I mean, it does matter.
We'll give Alex a pass on this. Writing and art are both equal parts of a good comic.
Both equal parts, yeah. But anyway, this one, even though it's named Tony Stark, has pretty much nothing to do with Tony. All follows Mr. Stark. Mr. Arno, right? Arno? Is that what it's pronounced? Yeah. Has him running around the world, and he's like, oh, Stark Universal or whatever. All the Stark stuff is all independent, but all together, and he does his own humanitarianism thing. But he's like, oh, he's saving the world by actually not being a superhero, but he's kind of a super villain, sort of. He's very Twilight Zone-y, I guess. The lessons that he teaches everybody. He's like, oh, you lost your arm in a car accident? Well, here, we surgically replace your arm. You don't need to wait or rehab. It's instantly working. But, of course, there's bad stuff that goes along with it. And it was just fun. It reminded me a lot of Twilight Zone. And
you're right.
In the Marvel Universe. And, yeah,
they're basically setting up Arno, I think, as a villain.
I would say,
to go against Tony. And those of you that don't know Arno Stark, he is the son of Maria and Howard.
The birth son.
The birth son, whereas we've discovered recently that
Tony's the adopted
son, and Arno was a sickly child that maybe lived in an iron lung for a big part of his life. Maybe he had polio.
He was messing with the celestial beings or something.
Anytime just say the word celestials and I just zone out.
It was some sort of aliens. Either way, he's the biological son of Howard Stark. And yeah, he's running around, and I really enjoyed it. It was a fun Twilight Zone-ish.
Very intelligent, probably Tony's
equal or
if
superior.
Not superior.
But
so he's going to be the superior Iron Man.
We already had that. That wasn't good.
It was a good book.
But yes, this one was good. Highly recommend it.
Something new and different. So I don't think we were doing episodes when The Wrong Earth came out. I could be wrong. So there's a new publisher called Ahoy Comics, AHOY, like a life preserver. Ahoy. Made up of seasoned professionals within the comic book industry. And their first release was a book called The Wrong Earth, and I really, really dig it. It is basically an homage to the 1960s Batman mixed up with the Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns Batman, and that's really, really good. Well, they have a horror book out this week called Edgar Allan Poe's Snifter of Terror. And so basically Edgar Allan Poe is the narrator to the two stories that are in here. The first one is written by Tom Payer, artwork by Fred Harper, and that is The Facts in the Case of M. Valdemar. And I can't even get into what it's about. It's kind of disgusting, but not overly disgusting. It's a story with feeling about a chef that is moving from, I think he was in France, and yes, he was in France, and then he moves to the United States in the 1800s and wants to become a kind of a hit here in the U.S. And you'll find out how that all works out. The second story is the one that that really pushes this over the top for me. It's called Dark Chocolate. It's written by Mark Russell, who you may remember from writing The Flintstones. And he writes lots of other stuff now too, mostly for DC. Artwork by Peter Snegberg. I'm probably mispronouncing that. It looks like a Swedish name, perhaps. So Dark Chocolate is basically the secret origin of Count Chocula, the famous cereal mascot that is the chocolate vampire. That sounds weird.
Yeah. You either know or you don't.
All you need to know is it's the secret origin of Count Chocula, and it's taken very seriously. And he has basically these breakfast. You know, most he's a ruler of a country, and most rulers have dinners. Well, because he's a vampire, he has breakfasts, and of course, at breakfast, Count Chocula cereal. I don't think it's called. It's called Marquis de Coco.
It's Count Chocula cereal.
Yes, and the guests include someone who looks a lot like Captain Crunch and Frankenberry and Boo Berry and like cereal mascots. The Lucky Charms leprechaun is in here, but it's an Irishman that looks like the Lucky Charms.
Do we have the Trix Rabbit?
I don't. It may be the chief foil to Count Chocula in here, but it just is really, really good. If you like horror, if you like humor, just good comic storytelling.
If you like breakfast.
If you like breakfast. If you like, I believe it's Post that did the Count Chocula stuff. Highly recommend picking up Edgar Allan Poe's Snifter of Terror and seeking out the other books published by Ahoy Comics because they've been pretty darn impressive.
My next pick is Maneaters #2 by Chelsea Kane and Kate. I'm sorry, Kate. I don't want to butcher your last name.
And Kate.
And Kate. Yeah, I have no good way of explaining that. Nimchick, maybe. Sure. I know we're going to show the cover on the screen, but I have to emphasize I love the cover, including the back cover. It's just it goes full circle and it's hilarious. It's just nice to have a fun horror. Like I guess it's horror-ish. So. Yeah,
is it horror? Because I didn't read the second issue. I read the first issue, but it's more. Is it more like Thriller or not like Thriller, the music video or the song? But it's not like.
I mean, it's
gory horror.
No, I guess it's a horror, but a comedy world. Like it's like if you like Sex Criminals, you like this. It's the very similar humor to it. Different writers and artists and everything, but just the premise is there are some women that carry a disease that when they menstruate, they turn into a werecat. And it's hilarious. I don't want to give away too much of the story, but on the inside cover, there are like fake ads. She's your little princess today, but will she be a monster tomorrow? And public warning, this comic may attract girls and women. And it has an ad in the back. Who is it placed by? The supplement paid for by men and boys. Like, it's just all the ads that are in here are fake in-world ads, and I love when they do the extra mile of, oh, there's advertisements in it, but not really.
They're fake ads.
They're fake ads, and
this isn't a true story, by the way.
No, it is not. Although there is a full page diagram
nice.
of how to use and insert feminine hygiene products.
My virgin eyes.
Yeah.
I can't see.
It's hilarious. You should check it out. I mean, it's a fun read.
So if I remember correctly, in the first issue, though, there's like there's a vaccine or something, right?
There's a supposed
there's
vaccine,
some sort of pill or vaccine that girls are given before they hit puberty
to basically
prevents
puberty.
But there are some where the vaccine isn't working and they turn into werecats.
And this follows a teenage girl that is, or preteen, or they say, but that starts her first period, and it follows her with her parents and stuff, and her parents are both like homicide detectives, and they're midst divorce, so it's a fun little like, oh,
it's like Family Ties.
Yeah. There's one panel where like it has the dad saying blah blah blah, like actually going on, like expressing his emotions, and the follow panel is like, nah, he didn't actually say that because he's too much of a coward. And it's just, of course, she's hormonal at the time and super angry, and it's just a fun read.
It's really good. I mean, I think you're right. Put it in the same category as Sex Criminals.
Yeah.
In books that are extremely well written, the artwork's really solid, and
the dialogue is
an out there story grounded in reality.
Yeah, it's a fun horror, but not really story.
My final selection is West Coast Avengers, number 3. I will go to my grave professing my love for the West Coast Avengers, and especially for the writing of Kelly Thompson and artwork of Stefano Caselli. So this is Kate Bishop's team that she's assembled on the, go figure, West Coast, where she has asked the other Hawkeye, Clint Barton, to kind of be... He's not really the team leader, but he's the only adult on the team. It's a bunch of early 20s.
He's the only experienced one, really. Like, Kate has been on some Young Avengers.
Well, it's a bunch of millennials. It's America Chavez, Gwenpool, Quentin Quire, and Kate's boyfriend, whose name I cannot remember, who's very much like the Absorbing Man.
Yeah, he is quite a bit.
And they are fighting against Brodok, who is a West Coast tanned big head version of MODOK.
It's the bionic robot, whatever, but it's designed for kissing.
Yes, it is crazy. It's funny. It's action-packed. Caselli's artwork is fantastic. And it's just really, really solid. If you have any love for the characters of Kate Bishop or Clint Barton, the 2 Hawkeyes, or any of the other folks that I mentioned, Gwenpool, Quentin Quire, or America Chavez, you absolutely need to be reading this. Even if you don't, I have this fear that this book is going to get canceled in like 3 weeks because not enough people are buying it. And you see that with a lot of things that have been started and stopped and started and stopped. Books like Iceman, books like The Unstoppable Wasp, books like Miles Morales Spider-Man. They're characters that are the newer characters that maybe aren't clicking with longtime readers, but they're clicking with newer readers and with younger readers, especially in trade paperback format, especially in libraries and in schools. Yeah. But this is it's a fun read, and if you're a comic book fan, a longtime comic book reader, there is so much for you to appreciate in this.
And if you like giant monsters destroying cities.
Well, we had giant Tigra in issue 1 and 2, and now we have some giant
other monsters.
Other like B-movie.
They're all generic ones,
yeah,
I think.
Well, one's like the creature from the Black Lagoon, and maybe one of our heroes is turned into a giant creature by the end of the book.
Yeah,
I'll just say that. So,
maybe.
West Coast Avengers, I will keep talking about it until you buy it. That's it.
And my final pick is a wrestling book. It is an original WWE graphic novel named The Undertaker: Rise of the Dead Man. So, if you're a longtime wrestling fan like I am, I've been my whole life, or if you watch the new stuff now and don't really know the old stuff, this is great because it shows, like, it has some of the in-ring stuff, but not really. It's all about the kayfabe of the character, The Undertaker himself. So it starts with his, as a childhood, with his brother Kane and the fire, and it's all within wrestling world of the character, The Undertaker. It doesn't have anything to do with the guy that plays him or anything. And it's really nice to see them go through all the ages. It goes right up to, realistically, just a couple months ago within professional wrestling. It pretty much ends like right at WrestleMania that happened this year. which is pretty impressive that it jumped all the way from his origin to more or less today. And it was written by, I guess I should have said this at the beginning. It doesn't matter. Chad, well, it doesn't matter when I say it. Written by Chad Dundas is
what I would say.
All right. And illustrated by Rodrigo Lorenzo and Wesley? Manuel? I don't know.
I'm going to let you do it.
Yeah,
you ride that.
I'm terrible at pronunciation. I'm sorry I butchered your names, but
none of those people are watching this episode.
None of them. Yeah, well, I try, but yeah, if you like wrestling, if you like the character of the Undertaker, this is definitely perfect for you because yeah, it's nice to see when within regular wrestling you see like the character story arcs and everything, and this is really well put together, especially of a person that's been wrestling for nearly 30 years now. Yeah, that's the Tombstone Pile Driver.
Okay,
that's the finishing move.
It's like the third page of the book.
He doesn't do wrestling.
You know what? I watched wrestling. I watched the WWF. For me, wrestling started and stopped with the WWF.
This starts with the WWF before the first appearance of the Undertaker in ring. So yeah, it has the whole story with Paul Bearer, how he's a father figure, and it's weird though because when he's as a kid, they say boy, like they purposely don't say his actual name because it's kind of hard to say. Oh, my 10-year-old son, Undertaker. Now his brother Kane, they still call him Kane because that's a normal name.
Interesting.
Ish. So, but they like when I was reading, I was like, you're really trying not to say his actual name, aren't you? But once you get past that, it was a really good read. Especially, I like to see unique stuff, and a wrestling graphic novel is pretty unique.
Whoever this is, this is Boom, right? Yes. Yeah. Boom has been doing WWE comics for several years, and we've tried carrying them here in the shop, and they just haven't sold as single issues. This being an original graphic novel and being about a character that people don't know a lot about, I think that it's...
Well, they know a lot of, but don't know. I guess, yeah. You know...
Well, his backstory.
Yeah.
You don't know a lot of his backstory. So, Alex, we actually got an advance copy of this. Alex read it, Amanda read it, and they both loved it. So that was a tip-off that... And they're both big-time wrestling fans, no pun intended. And so anybody that likes wrestling... I know I'm thinking of at least 3 or 4 people. Len, if you're watching this, Len, you need to come and get this. But yeah, it's rare to have well-done wrestling comics, I guess. But does this make you want to check out some of Boom's other wrestling comics?
Yeah, because especially if it has the actual story that they've done on television within the last however many years, then it's definitely an extension to it. Which realistically, wrestling and comic books should match up pretty well because they are superheroes and supervillains within their own universes.
I think they've diverged more recently. When I first started going to comic conventions, like big comic conventions like 1995, 1996, I would go to Wizard conventions and they actually would have wrestling demos. Yeah. Like they would have a big ring set up and have wrestling happening there. And a lot of times you have former wrestlers that are appearing at shows. I know...
they still have to do with big cons. They do that.
They do, yeah. So wrestling and comics have been intertwined for a long time. And I think Boom's doing a great job telling these stories. So if you're a wrestling fan and you've never set foot in a comic shop, you should head out to your local comic shop and check out The Undertaker or any other of the wrestling comics by Boom. I think you'll be pleased.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
So that does it for this week. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments or flag us down somewhere and let us know. We do appreciate you watching, and if you enjoy this week's episode, like, comment, and share so we can get this in front of more people who want to find out which comics are awesome. And knock on wood, this is under this cloth. It's actual wood.
Like the only thing in the building that's actual wood.
We're hoping to be back next week. I think we're going to get on a schedule. We don't have any big events. We had a big event last Saturday that ate up all of our time last week. Not making excuses. I'm making excuses.
But there were really good books the last couple of weeks also.
There are always good books, and that's why we're here. It's our job to tell you what the really good books are so that you support them.
Yeah.
So there you go. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you again real soon.